Voice now. Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'm your host this morning, and we are going to, in our first segment, cover a number of issues, including our plan to take back America. I've posted this up on our website, and it's been linked on our Facebook page. I'll be more than happy to go over the details of this. But ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to end the treason. And there's only one way we're going to do that. We are going to do that. It cannot happen on its own. It will not pass of its own volition. We are either going to grab this bull by the horns and rein it in, or it's going to trample us to death. Now, the principles upon which I've written this article are clear and simple. Place all state and federal capitals under civil disobedience via siege. What exactly does that mean? Well, I'm going to tell you what it means. It means that we as citizens need to make a number of very, very important sacrifices. And here's what they are. All businesses will participate, or who are willing to participate in this, will immediately cease sending in any and all sales taxes, employee contribution taxes, and any other funds that go to state and or federal governments. They will withhold all payments made to any government agency, state or federal. They'll withhold all real estate tax payments, withhold all payments to banks, mortgage companies, auto loans, credit card companies, revolving lines of credit, cease all orders for new products and services, place those funds in designated escrow accounts, and withhold the funds until the state and federal governments capitulate. The end goal is to bring about a screeching halt to our economic movement. Bring all commerce, funding, and payments to a halt. No money moves, no product moves, period. All individuals, prepare yourselves and your families to take shifts in camping out in front of state and federal capitals until the demands are met. Withhold all personal payments to banks, mortgage companies, auto loans, credit card companies. Place all of those funds into designated escrow accounts and withhold those funds until the state and federal governments capitulate. Purchase only what you need in food and fuel for a 90-day window. Why 90 days? Because this won't last more than 90. 90% of America only has enough food to last 3 days in their home. State governments are required to pay, by law, all their bills with real money, and they don't have the luxury of printing money like a Federal Reserve. State governments will necessarily break within a 10 to 15 day window, at most 30 days. Why? Because it's a 30-day cycle on money. Your bank won't even know you haven't paid the bill for the first 30 days. Well, you're going to ruin my credit. No. You're going to stop making all payments, period. First of all, if we don't prohibit what's going on in our nation, this beast will eat us alive. So what is the goal here? Well, the goal is to starve the beast. Bring all commerce to a halt. All commerce. No work, no taxes paid, no purchases, no commerce, no movement, no economy. A complete and total freeze of all money, supplies, and work. Why would we do that, you ask? Good question. Well, let's understand something. We can no longer sit and wait for government to bring about change at our request. We have lost control, and this is now a rabid dog that is turned on us. We're not just talking about the federal government. We're talking about state governments. We're talking about city governments. We're talking about across the board, all government, period, in all shapes and forms. We are at the end of a long road. This is not a crossroads with a T intersection. This is, or I should say, this is not a crossroads. This is a T intersection. We have reached the end of freedom and liberty in our republic. There is no more straight ahead. We now must make a decision whether our nation will go left or right, literally and figuratively. What's the value of this? Well, here's the situation. Either you are part of the solution or you are part of the problem. Will everyone participate? I'm sure they won't initially. But it won't take long before word is out that 10% of the United States has ceased to function. And within days it will be 25%. And within a week it will be 50%. And then, and only then, will you see action. Why should I hold back my sales taxes and my employee contribution taxes and the other funds that go to the state and federal government, asks the small businessman. Well, this beast eats greenbacks. It only has one way to survive and function. And when you withhold the money, the beast withers and dies. Withholding all payments made to any government agency, either state or federal, and all taxes, sales taxes, employee contribution taxes, real estate taxes, and here's where the real value comes in. Not only are you going to starve the beast directly, but you're going to apply an enormous amount of pressure on the beast. Here's how we're going to do it. When you withhold the payments to your bank, your mortgage companies, your auto loans, your credit card companies, your business revolving lines of credit, when you withhold those monies, let me tell you how fast these banks will force the government to capitulate. It won't take more than 30 days. When the banks realize that their lifeblood is in danger, I promise you, they will declare one of two things. Either federal government and state governments, we've been paying you for 100 years, and you're now going to do our bidding, or they're going to go to them and say, you guys better do what they're asking. Our goal is to create, for all intents and purposes, a peaceful, civilly disobedient hostage crisis. Who's the hostage? Money. Pure and simple. Money. When you stop the flow of money, you starve the beast. Well, I'm only one person. What can I do? What you can do is you can freeze all of your personal spending. You can freeze your payments to your banks. You can freeze the payment that you send to your mortgage company, your credit card company. You can stop paying for that automobile. You stop buying gasoline. You stop going to work. I don't care whether you use your vacation time for the first week or 2 weeks. Use it up. If you're self-employed, don't send in any money on your quarterly tax payments. When does this begin? Well, let's pick the perfect day. How about July 4th, 2013? It's called Independence Day. And it's called Independence Day for a reason. What exactly do you expect that will happen? Well, I'm going to tell you what it is. A complete and total freeze that will be impossible to hide from not only every individual in our nation, but the entire world will be forced to take notice. The mass media will first try to ignore this. I promise you that. They are not even covering the murder trial of an abortion doctor who literally is on trial for killing 7 babies born live, but hundreds of others. And MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, and MSLSD have not, and Communist News Network have not covered. The only one who spent one story on it was Communist News Network. None of the others did. Not a one. So you can guarantee that the mass media will try to ignore this. Thankfully, there are enough alternative media sources out there that will cover this, that the entire country, the entire planet, will know that those crazy Americans are taking their nation back for the second time. We're going to take a break. When we do, we're going to go over what exactly are the goals of this project. What are we trying to accomplish? What's the end goal? What's the end game? And I'm going to give you a list of them. And if you have others, I'd love to see them. I'm going to give you a place and a way that you can do that. We'll be back in just a moment.
Are you looking to save money? Did you know that in the last 20 years, interest rates have never been this low? That's why you should make the smart call today to West Plains Savings and Loan to start your home mortgage. Just imagine how much money you'll save. Key word is save, as in savings and loan. Your loan starts here and stays here. Never would it be sold to a secondary lender. Call today, 256-3042. That's 256-3042. West Plains Savings and Loan. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Last time on the Dennis Miller Show.
At an event thrown by the website Politico, Bill Gates said, quote, "Some days I wish we had a system like the UK, quote, to give Obama more power." Yeah, some days I wish Windows worked like Apple. How's that, Billy boy? These guys are fetishistic. He's in the, he wants it to work more like the UK. He wants to see Obama padding around in one of those powder
Weekdays
blades.
from 9 till noon, it's the Dennis Miller Zone on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the plan that will enable us to take back America peacefully, civilly, without a single shot fired. At least not from the citizenry. What exactly are the goals? I mean, I've laid out for you what you'll need to do as a business or as an individual. So what are the goals here? Well, first, the goal of this process is to take back our nation peacefully and civilly, but with unrelenting force. We're going to do it through civil disobedience. We're going to do it without threats. We're going to do it without coercion. in a physical form. And we're going to do it in a way that makes it clear that our government has stepped outside of the boundaries of what our Constitution allows it to do. No government can exist without funding. Period. We all know that. So what's taken so long for us to defund the monster? Every one of us knows, in the forehead and in the back of your head, that our state and federal governments are out of control. I can give you endless lists that would take us through until 9 o'clock this morning of where and how and under what circumstances those are happening. And guess what? I could do all of that and it wouldn't even cover just the last month. I could spend the remainder of today until midnight tonight covering where abuse has come from in our state and federal governments and the usurpation of power and the tyranny that they're laying upon us. And guess what? I wouldn't even get back in history past the Obama administration. And make no mistake about it, this is not a partisan issue. Bush is a traitor. He was a traitor for the 8 years he was in office, and he's no different than Obama. The simple truth is both parties are the same. They dance to the same puppet master. And while one may be a little bit more socially conservative or a little bit more socially liberal than the other, the end game of both parties is simply this: your demise and enslavement. So the goal here is to cut off the money supply and starve the beast to death. Either it will capitulate to our demands or it will die. In either event, we the people will come out of this period with our nation intact and our Constitution again in full force and effect as the rule of law across the land. So what are the demands that we're going to make? Well, for starters, the first demand is that there be an emergency nationwide election in both state and federal governments. And all existing members of Congress must resign. This is world-shaking, folks. And if this hasn't occurred to you yet, exactly how cataclysmic this will be, I'm here to tell you. Spread this around a little bit. Share this with your friends. Send this video on YouTube out to 50 people that you know. And watch the screaming begin. All existing members of Congress must resign. President Barack Obama must resign. There will be an emergency national election placed to replace him. Rule number 1, no current member of Congress may run again in this emergency election. Why? Because you don't get the rats off the sinking ship only to put them right back in again. You don't take the poison out of your system and then put it back in. Nationwide taxation. On a personal level, a flat tax of 10%. Everyone pays. Not 51%. Everyone. Whether you make $10,000 a year or you make $10 million a year or you make $10 billion a year. No deductions, no loopholes. It's simple. Everyone gets it, regardless of your intellectual capacity, and everyone has skin in the game. Nationwide, corporate taxation at a level not to exceed 20%. No deductions, no loopholes. No more 59,000-page tax filings from General Electric where they pay zero taxation and bury trillions overseas. If a corporation attempts to avoid paying taxes by hiding or sheltering money overseas, that corporation is prohibited from doing business in the United States. Period. You will pay or you will leave. Next, the Federal Reserve must return all national banking and money supply to the Treasury as constitutionally mandated within a 3-year time frame. Why within a 3-year time frame, you ask? Well, it's going to take a little while to unwind the spaghetti, folks. We don't want to destroy the country. We don't want to bring it crashing down. We want to save it. And we're not going to save it if we pour a gallon of water into the mouth of a drowning man. The Treasury Department is the only legally authorized manner by which money can be created and by which money can be transferred. The Federal Reserve, while it may have passed in a bill in 1913, is unconstitutional on its face. The Treasury Department shall not delegate the constitutional duties and obligations to any third party ever again. And the Treasury Department may no longer use fractional banking. All money must be backed by precious metal. These are stout demands. I know. That's the point. If we're going to sit there and make demands that are negligible in their impact, it's not worth the trouble. All administrative agencies that are not constitutionally mandated are immediately hereby disbanded and considered null and void. This includes the EPA, the Department of Homeland Security, the IRS, the ATF, the DEA, the SEC, the USDA, the FDA, the DOE. You want me to go on? Let me tell you something. There are over 1,000 administrative agencies, just federally alone. We're not even counting the states, that all operate extra-constitutionally. They have been delegated authority by Congress that we never gave Congress in the first place. All of them are hereby ended. No new agency shall ever exist. Congress has no authority to subdelegate the limited power of attorney that we have given them, and they are the only ones who may possess it. We hereby revoke any self-delegated authority they may have to offer that to agencies. We don't need agencies, and I'm going to tell you why. One, they are not, agencies don't have a constitutional basis for existence, number one. Number two, agencies have zero accountability because they're unelected. And these are the bureaucrats that are eating out our substance. Those aren't my words. Those are the words in our Declaration of Independence. Remember the phrase referencing King George? He has sent swarms of officers to eat out our substance and harass us. Look at federal agencies, folks. That's exactly what they're doing. All state and federal governments must adopt a balanced budget, either annually or, quite frankly, as a lot of economists recommend, semi-annually. In other words, you do a budget for a 2-year window, not a 1-year window. Because like a candidate who runs for office in the House, they run every 2 years. So they work for 1 year and then they run for the second year. It's ridiculous. All government accounting, whether state or federal, must now be done under GAAP. What exactly is GAAP? GAAP is what's called generally accepted accounting principles. And this is what corporations must use in order to balance their books. What our government uses is something way outside of GAAP. We're going to touch on that again after this break. And then the final demand. No longer may the federal and or the state governments exceed the enumerated powers delegated to them in the constitutions, either state or federal. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Secretary of State John Kerry is in China.
Obviously, there are enormously challenging issues in front of us.
Hoping to find cooperation in tackling the North Korean nuclear crisis. Here at home, meanwhile,
U.S. officials are now busy trying to walk back the accidental release of intelligence in a House hearing yesterday that suggested North Korea is believed capable of launching nuclear missiles. The Office of Director of National Intelligence now saying it would be inaccurate to suggest that the North Korean regime has fully developed and tested those kinds of nuclear weapons.
Fox Radio's Mike Makowitz. Police in Topeka, Kansas say they found 3 people shot to death inside a home. Authorities searching for a person of interest. And several states in the Midwest bracing for a second storm, just as they're trying to recover from one which dumped ice and snow across the region. Fox News. We report, you decide.
Get a hold of Brian down at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance. You can call him at 870-492-4030, or you can find him on the web at ozarkmtnselfreliance.com. Located a half mile east of Walmart on Route 62 in Mountain Home. My friends over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery at 255-2253, number 2 Evans Arcade off the square in West Plains. Best damn bakery in 100 miles. You can reach Mary at 255-2253. My friend Bill Stone over at Stone Construction at 293-0116. Whether remodeling or doing new or custom construction or light commercial, Bill's the guy for you. 293-0116. West Plains Pawn and Gun, located on Route 160, just about a mile east of Walmart on the right-hand side. westplainspawn.com. You can also reach them by a telephone at 417-256-3000. Friends over at the battery station at 303 Washington Avenue, right off the square in West Plains. You can find them on the web at batterystation.com, and you can call them at 417-257-7799. Also, don't forget to stop by Pizza Hut for an outstanding lunch special between 11 and 2. Salad and pasta all together. You can also visit them on Tuesday evenings for family night. Kids eat free under 12. And Jason over at Wits End Classic Barbershop, the sponsor of our telephone line. Make sure that you see Wits End Classic Barbershop for your next shave and a haircut. Outstanding, fine young man and a great patriot as well. He's on the square in West Plains.
Napa Auto Parts in West Plains from now until the end of April is offering an oil change special. 5 quarts of Napa fully synthetic motor oil and a Napa silver oil filter for just $19.99. Save up to $10 with mail-in rebate on wiper blades or spark plugs, and Seafoam motor treatment is only $6.79.
Weather sponsorships are now available on News Talk 107.1 The Point. Get more information, email info@diamondmediaradio.com for complete details.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, well, we have mostly sunny skies, high near 64 degrees, areas of frost before 8 a.m., slight chance of showers after 1 o'clock. And then later on, we have a low around 46. I'm Dawn James, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
Out of 365 days a year, we celebrate holidays, anniversaries, and other important days. But there is one day you look forward to, your birthday.
I wanna wish you a happy birthday.
Ryan's Steakhouse of West Plains is proud to bring you the Birthday Club weekday mornings with Cooper & Company. Our daily winner receives 1 buffet and a drink to Ryan's. Just call your birthdays in weekday mornings with Cooper & Company at 255-0427. Brought to you by Ryan's and the Ozarks Best News Talk.
And happy birthday to you.
Cha-cha-cha.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take our nation back. Our national currency is on the verge of collapse. The Federal Reserve System has been diluting the money supply literally for decades. You do realize that since 1905, the United States dollar has dropped 90% in value. I'm going to tell you why. Because they keep printing more of it. It's diluted to the point where it has no value. We are approaching what used to be the Continental Congress's greenback. We are about to see inflation in our nation, which is only held back by the virtue of the fact that the government keeps playing with the numbers to show that inflation does not exist. But you and I all know that it does. Go to the grocery store and look at what a pound of chopped meat costs you. Look at what a gallon of gas costs you. Are you aware of the fact that oil is the same price now as it was when Obama took office? On the barrel. And yet then it was $1.84 and now it's $3.25. You have to understand where we are. We are at the point where our economy is already in default. We are bankrupt. They haven't announced it publicly through the 5 mainstream media channels, but the simple truth is we are bankrupt. We're like a corporation who has assets and liabilities that are well underneath the true value of what the company is worth. We can no longer pay our bills, and the income does not even compare to the outflow. I mean, we're spending $3.8 trillion a year on a budget with only $2.2 trillion a year of income. It is an unsustainable scenario. Administrative agencies for all intents and purposes, have blanketly violated every aspect of your privacy rights. They surveil you and everything that you do. They monitor your telephone calls. They monitor your email. They monitor what you watch on TV. They feed you propaganda through the mainstream media and the 5 big networks. Fox is one of those, by the way. Make no mistake about it. You are brainwashed, manipulated, and indoctrinated by the basic principles of the Delphi method. The Delphi method is one, and I've gone into some extensive review on this, and I've done an entire show on it, and I would encourage you to catch that show and watch it or listen to it. It is where a specific outcome results because you are given limited choices, and you are only allowed to pick from those choices, and all other discussion is ended. And that's what all this polling is about. When you keep hearing, well, the polls say, the polls say, the polls say. You don't know what the polls really say. You only know what the pollsters tell you the polls said. Administrative agencies have completely and absolutely exceeded any authority that we have given Congress. The EPA is destroying lives, businesses, homes, families. The ATF utilizes the concept of interstate commerce as its sole means and excuse to control firearms. Well, it was made in another state, so therefore when it crossed state lines, it affected interstate commerce. You know, there's a story out there this morning, this one's going to kill you, about an Amish guy who was prosecuted because the federal government utilized their hate crime law. And this is the Amish guy who was going around catching other Amish people and cutting off their beards. So you know how they gave him a 15-year federal prison sentence? You're not going to believe this. The scissors that were used to cut the hair were manufactured in one state and used in another. So therefore, it became a federal crime, not a state crime. Did you know that? It's a federal crime because the scissors crossed state lines. The Commerce Clause is one that the federal government has used over and over and over as their primary justification to interject themselves into cases which belong in state courts. The U.S. attorney for that case argued in the indictment, where they actually indicted this guy, that the battery-operated hair clipper used in the assaults were purchased at a Walmart and traveled in and affected interstate commerce because they were manufactured in Dover, Delaware. They gave this guy a 15-year prison sentence for cutting off the beards of other Amish. He was an Amish person himself. So what you have to realize when I tell you that administrative agencies are the source of most of the problems that we have in our nation, I did an entire 4-day series on administrative agencies to explain to you what they are and how they operate. Go look at the YouTube video and go. There's 4 of them. 4 full days, 1-hour sessions on administrative agencies. Understand who they are, what they do, and how they have completely usurped authority from the Constitution, because they can operate extra-constitutionally. They pass laws under the title rules and regulations that are not law, and yet they are given the full force of law by courts. What you have to realize is that administrative agencies are the number one clear and existential threat to the United States of America and the republic that we live in. The IRS is bleeding our nation to death. The presidency has become a secret dictatorship. It is a dictatorship. The checks and balances that our framers designed and built into the Constitution have been eviscerated. They no longer exist. The president now declares and gave himself the power to kill Americans and others without due process. He signed into law the National Defense Authorization Act, which allows him to take Americans and hold them in indefinite detention without habeas corpus, which is such an old law, it predates the Magna Carta, based upon purely his desire and his belief that that person is a threat to the nation. Every member of Congress has betrayed their oath of office. Every single one. I'm going to tell you how. They have accepted lobbying money. Lobbying and bribery are the same word. Make no mistake about it. We have the best government that money can buy. Want proof? Go look what Roy Blunt recently did with the Monsanto Protection Bill. I mean, even left-wing publications are fired up about this. And the amount of money that has changed hands between Blunt and Monsanto. I mean, we're not talking about a light or something to be taken lightly. Mother Jones News, probably perhaps one of the most liberal organizations in the nation, came out and said, the admission shines a light on Blunt's ties to Monsanto, whose office is located in the senator's home state. According to Open Secrets, Monsanto first started contributing to Blunt back in 2008 when it handed him $10,000. At that point, Blunt was serving in the House of Representatives. In 2010, when Blunt successfully ran for Senate, Monsanto upped its contributions to $44,250. And in 2012, the GMO seed pesticide giant enriched Blunt's campaign by his war chest by $64,250. He's also a magnet for PAC money from the agribusiness industry as a whole. This is on Open Secrets. In 2012, agribiz PACs gave him $51,000, more than any other industry save for finance, insurance, and real estate. In 2010, the year of his Senate run, agribiz PACs handed him $243,000, more than any others or any other PAC other than finance, insurance, and real estate. The senator's blunt, so to speak, admission that he stuck a rider into an unrelated bill at the behest of a major campaign donor is consistent with the tenor of his political career. This is just Roy Blunt we're talking about here. We're going to take a quick break. We've got our music playing in the background. What you have to realize, folks, is that our Congress has been so corrupted, and I have to tell you, the number of valuable Congress people who are truly, and I'm going to give you some examples. Ted Cruz is one. He's the new senator from Texas. Guy's been into office less than, 6 months? Unfortunately, we're going to have to pull him out, too. The problem is that we can only count him on one hand.
If you're looking for a new or used pistol, shotgun, or rifle, West Plains Pawn & Gun has over 450 firearms in stock. All your favorite models like Beretta, Glock, Smith & Wesson, Kimber, and many, many more. West Plains Pawn & Gun is also a Class 3 arms dealer, so if they don't have it on the shelf, West Plains Pawn & Gun can order it for you. Even those hard-to-get guns. West Plains Pawn & Gun, 1713 U.S. Highway 160 West in West Plains, or online at westplainspawn.com.
Hi, this is Sheila Murphy, store manager at Big Lots. We're located in the Southern Hills Shopping Center in West Plains, Missouri. Southern Hills is home to the best shopping establishment in South Central Missouri. Come visit some of your favorite department stores, and if a full day of shopping is on your list, there are also plenty of great places to eat when you get hungry. And they're all within walking distance. Southern Hills is the largest shopping center in the area and has everything you will be looking for. No need to leave West Plains. Stay local and shop local with Southern Hills Shopping Center. Proud to serve West Plains and the surrounding communities.
Hi, I'm Scott Corman, President of Community First. We want to be your bank. We believe in the strength of our communities, businesses, families, and future. We're not just locally owned, but community owned. And we operate today just as we started, by living up to our name, putting you and our communities first.
Living up to our name, community first, banking company.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
The Donut Palace in West Plains, where the customer is still king. If you're a school group, church group, sports team, or any group function, book it with the Donut Palace. Order 24 hours in advance and at least 3 dozen to receive 10% off your bill, and you won't have the burden of paying tax either. Open 7 days a week from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. except Sundays when they close at 1. Call today at 417-256-0606 to have delicious hot and fresh donuts at your next meeting. Located at 914 Broadway in West Plains, the Donut Palace.
So the premise behind this whole operation is simple. We're going to starve the beast. Obama now has come out and said that he's going to limit how much money you can put into your retirement account. You're kidding, right? I mean, you know what his statement was? That this is more, that the folks who are saving more than $2 or $3 million in their retirement accounts is more money than they need for their lifestyle.
The lifestyle police.
I mean, how do you justify telling people what their lifestyle should or shouldn't be if they've worked hard all of their lives to accomplish their goals and dreams?
That's the lifestyle police.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's the lifestyle police, you know. We should decide what level of economic progress you have.
Sorry, I had the wrong mic on.
That's right. It's the lifestyle police. You know, we should decide at what level, you can exist and where you should buy groceries, and we'll get your whole life figured out for you.
Well, I mean, the fact is that when you're talking about the Obama budget, which would punish retirees by saying that you can't have more than $2 to $3 million in your retirement account, that's not the government's place. It's not the government's business how much money you've saved.
You'd think they'd be happy you'd be saving a lot of money.
One would think. They classify it as a reasonable amount to support your lifestyle, your retirement lifestyle.
Yeah, what's the definition of reasonable?
Well, that's the point. And I don't want to get sidetracked from the issue of what this plan does. But what you have to realize is that the IRS is bleeding our nation to death. economically. The presidency is now a secret or semi-secret dictatorship. Every member of Congress has betrayed their oath of office. Lobbyists have turned our government into the best Congress money can buy. Corruption is the rule of the day in both state and federal governments. Our Constitution is all but defunct after decades of being grinded away by traitors and treasonous who call themselves representatives of the people. This revolt, and it is openly a revolt, make no mistake about it, it's a peaceful one. It is a peaceful one. This is not a call to arms. This is a call to banks. This is a call to freeze the money and freeze the flow of commerce and cash. We are about to turn into the Weimar Republic.
Imagine what will happen, though, if millions of people zero out their W-4s.
Well, right off the bat, if you had just on the average everyday person, you're talking about somewhere close to the tune of $300 to $500 a month in taxes that are taken out of your paycheck. And we're talking about, we're talking about people who are earning minimum wage, right? We're not talking about people who work in Wall Street and people who work and make $100,000, $150,000 a year. We're talking about the average minimum wage person pays somewhere between $300 and $500 a month in taxes. Now, all you need to do to eliminate that is go out and refile your W-4 and change your filing status to zero out. All you have to do is raise the number of deductions that you have. That's it. You raise the number of deductions. And you can effectively eliminate all federal taxes being taken out of your paycheck, or state for that matter, by raising it around 8 or 9. In other words, 8 or 9 deductions. Immediately, no more money will come out of your paycheck for taxes. Now, you say, well, wait a minute. I don't want to have to pay at the end of the year. I get that. But what you're doing right now is you're giving the government a free, interest-free loan.
Which, by the way, the government did not need for the first 130 years of its existence. Our republic had no federal income tax. And the federal government, the Army, the Navy, and the military was funded strictly by the monies that were brought in through the U.S. Customs Service to the Treasury Department.
As tariffs.
Exactly.
You know, what you have to realize here is that the principle, just money flow alone, is going to change the tone and the tenor of where we are in our nation. And we can break the back of the treason by stopping the flow of money. This revolt, while peaceful, will change everything. And here's the deal. Either we change this now while words will suffice, or we accept the fundamental change that our government leaders have planned for us. I'm going to read you something that's very important. Here's a quote. I just want you to hear this for a minute, and I want you to think about it. And I want you to understand the importance of it. Still, if we will not fight for the right when you can easily win without bloodshed, if you will not fight when your victory will be sure and not too costly, you may come to the moment when you will have to fight with all the odds against you and only a precarious chance of survival. There may even be a worse case. You may have to fight when there is no hope of victory, because it is better to perish than live as a slave. Winston Churchill. Ladies and gentlemen, the importance of that phrase, the value of that, the intellectual honesty of that, can be denied by no one. Still, if you will not fight for the right when you can easily win without bloodshed, if you will not fight when your victory will be sure and not too costly, you may come to the moment when you will have to fight with all the odds against you and only a precarious chance of survival. There may even be a worse case. You may have to fight when there is no hope of victory, because it is better to perish than to live as slaves. This is the one option open to us: civil disobedience, peaceful protest with a kick. We're not just standing protesting. We're not just carrying signs so that we can be ignored. We are actually going to take action that will starve the beast. This revolt, while peaceful, will change everything. What they have planned for you is slavery. You are enslaved currently by debt. You are monitored. As the electorate, you have been castrated and emasculated. You have cowered fearfully, and you have become subservient to elitist New World Order individuals that declare you to be food and livestock, to be used or abused at the will of your masters. It matters not what the name or the face of the master be, for they are all the same. Tyrants whose ego and desire for power and money are fed by your demise. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the truth. You may argue with the method, but the end goal for all Americans should be to bring this back under control. I'm going to tell you a story. You know, when our founders got together and they decided that they were going to try to create this great new concept called a constitutional republic, they approached it from many, many, many different perspectives, biases, ideologies. But the one thing that every single one of them agreed upon was, at the end of the day, what mattered was that we had a government that was controlled, designed, built by, and representative of the people. Now, they approached it from many different angles. In fact, the concept of the divided government that we have in the form of the separation of powers was actually a principle of John Adams. And in fact, John Adams was roundly denounced by all the other framers for quite some time. He stole the concept, actually, from Montesquieu, who openly declared that the only way for a republic to survive was that there be a separation of powers where each individual one of the three departments, and you have the judicial, the legislative, and the executive, were checks and balances against the other powers. And John Adams was the only one of the founders who insisted that that be the case. They roundly trounced him until even finally Ben Franklin, who was the last holdout, came and turned around. You know what's different about then that doesn't occur now? When faced with the empirical proof, those men who were learned and wise and intelligent had the courage to change their minds when the proof was in front of them. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the difference between an ideologue and a patriot. I ask you, where do you stand? This will be the end of segment 1. We're going to continue this idea through segment 2. We'll be back in just a few moments, and then we're going to take some calls from our folks and listen here what their ideas are. We'll be back in just a minute.
We are the Ozarks' best news talk, KBMV Birch Tree.
Fox News Radio. I'm Chris Foster. Instead of President Obama, the mother of a boy killed in the Newtown, Connecticut school shooting delivers the weekly White House address. Francine Wheeler speaking about her son Ben and urging Congress to pass new gun laws.
To us, It feels as if it happened just yesterday. And in the 4 months since we lost our loved ones, thousands of other Americans have died at the end of a gun. Thousands of other families across the United States are also drowning in our grief. Please help us do something before our tragedy becomes your tragedy.
For the Republicans, Indiana Congresswoman Jackie Walorski criticizes the president's budget plan.
He says it's responsible, a compromise even. But here's the facts. If we were to implement the president's budget, taxes would go up on just about every American, including middle-class families.
She says the Republican plan's more fair and balances the budget within 10 years. Some scammers may try to take advantage of this past week's violent spring storm in the Midwest.
After storms, the repair folks come out in droves. Some are legit, others not so much. The Better Business Bureau says phony contractors look to get their hands on the full amount you receive in insurance checks.
You hand over all of the money at once, you lose a lot of control over the job.
Chris Thetford is with the BBB in St. Louis.
You want to pay a third of the cost up front, about a third when the project is about half done, and keep a third back until the project is completely done.
If a contractor shows up in your driveway, call the company to make sure that person actually works for them. The Better Business Bureau says you can also check out businesses on their website, bbb.org. Jennifer Kuiper, Fox News Radio.
All 108 people on board survive when a Lion Air jet skids off a runway into the sea in Bali, Indonesia. Some with broken bones and head wounds, some just wet and shaken up. This is Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
There's more to Fox News Radio than meets the ear. Go behind the headlines and join the conversation on the hottest stories of the day on the Fox News Radio Facebook page. Be a part of the Fox News Radio Facebook fan community. Post comments and tell us your opinions. See behind-the-scenes photos and videos and post your reactions to the stories that matter to you. Click the like button on Facebook and connect with breaking news and features like Fox in the Fast Lane, House Call for Help, and more. Go to Facebook.com/Fox News Radio.
Weeknights, we're busting out a brand new lineup. First, market fraud, government abuse, corruption. At 5, nothing's off limits on money with Melissa Francis. Then, from bloated bank fees to consumer scams. At 6, Jerry's exposing the issues impacting your wallet. Plus, get smart market insight and trusted analysis you won't find anywhere else. At 7, Lou Dobbs is all business. And the first and last name in business, Cavuto, shedding light on the biggest stories making headlines at 8. Only on the Fox Business Network, giving you the power to...
The Donut Palace in West Plains, where the customer is still king.